Welcome back to Mind the Gap. I'm Jen.
And I'm Casey. Today we're talking about something that makes a lot of learners want to throw their pens across the room, prepositions.
Oh yes, those tiny words that somehow cause massive headaches.
Exactly. I mean, I think I know the words. In, on, at. They're simple, right? But when I put them in a sentence, it's like the puzzle's missing a piece.
You've nailed it. Most learners think it's about memory, but it's not that at all. It's not your memory that's failing, it's your perspective. You're seeing English through a Chinese lens.
That's fair. Because sometimes I understand every single word in a sentence, but still have no idea what it actually means together.
Exactly. English prepositions aren't random decorations. They're part of how English sees space and time. It's like a built-in GPS, showing where everything sits and how it moves.
That's such a nice way to put it. A GPS. So what you're saying is, every time we use a preposition, we're kind of dropping a little location pin.
Exactly. Imagine you're using Google Maps. In might be the whole area, on could be a specific street, and at is the exact door you're standing by.
Ah, that's clever. So instead of memorizing rules, it's more like adjusting the zoom on a camera, you know? How close or far your focus is.
That's spot on. Think of English as a camera that constantly asks, where are you? How close are you? What's your focus? Once you answer those, the preposition almost chooses itself.
So maybe I shouldn't blame my brain anymore. It's not memory, it's just that my camera's been facing the wrong way.
Exactly. Once you flip it around, everything becomes much clearer. And that's what we'll be doing today. Learning to see prepositions, not just memorize them.
I like that. So by the end of today, we're basically giving our listeners a new pair of glasses, one that finally lets them see how English really works.
Yes, exactly that. And once that view clicks, trust me, even the trickiest prepositions will start to make sense.
All right then, shall we dive in and zoom that camera?
Let's do it.
Speaking of cameras, I've realised I always mess up when it comes to these tiny words. Like, I used to say, I'm in the bus, and my British friend would look at me funny.
Yeah, that's a classic one. It's funny because technically you are inside the bus, right? But that's not how English sees it. For us, on the bus is about being part of that system. You're not focusing on the metal box you're sitting in, but on the journey itself.
That's so strange, but it makes sense. So it's like English doesn't care about where your feet are. It cares about the kind of space you're in.
Exactly. And that's the magic of in, on, and at. They're not just about places, they're about how close the camera zooms in. Imagine you're filming London from above. In London means you're taking in the whole city. You see the skyline, the lights, everything.
Now, if you zoom in a bit, on Oxford Street becomes the next level down. You're not seeing all of London anymore, you're focused on one street.
And then, at the door is the final zoom. It's one clear point. You've moved from city to street to door. Each step is a smaller box.
That's actually so visual. I can literally picture it, like I'm scrolling on Google Maps from the whole city down to street view.
Exactly, and that's why native speakers don't really think about which preposition to use. They're not memorizing rules, they're following the zoom.
So that's why we say in April, on Monday, and at 7 o'clock, because time works the same way.
Spot on. Think of it like this. In April covers a whole month. It's a box of days. On Monday is one slice of that month, one specific day. At 7 is just a single tick on the clock.
That's brilliant. I used to think they were random, but now it's like the scale just changes. Big box, smaller box, one tiny dot.
You've got it. And that same logic explains a lot of the little exceptions people try to memorize, like at night. People always ask why not in the night. It's because English treats night as one single focused moment, not a broad stretch of time.
That's funny, because in my head, night feels long, like hours. But in English, it's seen as one scene, like the world switches from day to night in one click.
Exactly. It's more cinematic than logical. English loves scenes, not charts. That's why the more you think visually, the easier it gets.
I like that. English loves scenes. Makes me feel a bit better about why I've been overthinking everything.
Yeah, sometimes less thinking, more seeing. Next time you hear someone say on the bus, don't translate. Just imagine that scene. You'll start hearing where their camera sits.
That's so cool. And I guess once you start hearing it that way, it becomes easier to use it naturally too.
Exactly, because it's not grammar anymore, it's rhythm and space. When you start thinking in boxes and focus points, English suddenly feels smoother.
That's kind of poetic. Who knew prepositions could sound artistic?
Yeah, they've been misunderstood for too long, but once you see the pattern, it's quite elegant, really.
So, if I want to fix my prepositions, I should stop memorizing and start zooming, right?
That's the point. Just keep asking yourself, am I talking about a big area, a surface, or one point? The moment you answer that, you already know the preposition.
That actually feels doable and kind of fun too.
It is. Once you get used to it, it's like your brain starts filming every sentence. You'll never see in, on, or at the same way again.
Actually, this whole Zoom thing we talked about just reminded me of another struggle. I once had this deadline and my boss said, "Can you send it by Friday?" And I thought, "Oh, on Friday, sure." I happily sent it Friday morning and he was not happy.
Oh, that's such a common one. When someone says by Friday, they actually mean any time before Friday ends. The idea is there's a line and you just can't cross it.
Yeah, I learnt that the hard way. It's so weird though. I always thought by Friday means on Friday. Why does English care so much about these invisible lines?
That's a good question. It's because English always wants to show a route. It rarely throws a sentence into thin air. There's always a sense of movement where something starts, where it's heading, or what carries it there.
That's quite poetic actually. So from, to and by are like coordinates for a sentence. They tell you where the journey begins, where it ends, and how you get there.
That's exactly it. Take from first. It's not just a physical starting point, like from London to Manchester. It can also be a mental or emotional one, from my point of view, or from experience. You're showing the listener where your idea comes from.
I really like that. It feels like English always needs to tell you where the story starts.
Exactly. And to is the arrow that points forward. When you say, I'm going to the shop, it's not only about movement, it's also intention. You're aiming for something. To gives direction, not just distance.
That explains so much, like to learn or to improve. It's not about where you are, it's about moving towards something.
Exactly. English likes that sense of motion. Even thoughts move. When you say, to be honest, or to my surprise, you're taking the listener towards your reaction.
That's fascinating. I never noticed how directional English really is.
Yeah, and that brings us to by. That one's a little tricky because it wears many hats, but they all share one idea, being close enough to have an effect. By train means you use the train as your method. By hand means you did it personally. By Friday means you stop right before that line.
Oh, so by is all about what helps you reach your goal or what limits you before a certain point.
That's it. You could think of by as a quiet assistant. It doesn't move the action itself, but it makes it possible.
That's such a nice way to describe it. And I guess that's why by works both for transport and time. It's like saying, this is how or when it happens.
Exactly. English prepositions are obsessed with context. They draw invisible arrows everywhere, showing how things connect. Once you start listening for those arrows, sentences suddenly sound clearer.
They're so true. Sometimes when I listen to British people talk, I can't catch every word, but I can feel where their thoughts are heading. It's almost like following road signs.
Perfect way to put it. That's exactly how English works. It's not just grammar, it's navigation. Every from, to, or by is giving you a clue about direction, purpose, or method.
That really changes how I listen. I used to think native speakers just talk fast, but now I realise they're actually guiding you through the route of their thoughts.
Exactly. And when you understand that, your own speaking becomes smoother too, because once you know the route, you don't stop mid-sentence wondering what comes next. You just follow the path.
That's actually quite comforting. I'll stop overthinking grammar then and start thinking about maps.
That's the spirit. Once you start seeing sentences as little journeys, English becomes a lot more fun.
You know what's funny? I used to think I was quite confident with time expressions until I said, I've lived here for 2019. My teacher's face froze for a second.
Oh, that's a good one. What you meant was probably since 2019, right? That's the classic mix-up between measuring time and marking a point on it.
Exactly. And what makes it worse is that I know the rule, but in real life, it just slips away. I start thinking, wait, am I talking about how long or when it started?
That's the right question, actually. Think of 4 as an elastic band. You stretch it to measure how long something lasts. I've waited for 2 hours. We've known each other for years. You're talking about duration, not where it began.
Now, since is different. Instead of stretching the band, you pin one end of it to the timeline. It's about the starting point. I've lived here since 2019. It's been raining since morning. That little pin tells you when the action began.
That's actually a lovely image. So 4 is the stretch and since is the pin. That's something I can remember.
Exactly. And once you see it like that, English tenses make a lot more sense, because English doesn't just care about when something happens, it cares about how long it's been happening.
I like that. But what about during? I always hesitate there too.
During is easier than it looks. It just means within a period. You're not measuring or marking, you're living inside that period. During the meeting, during the holidays, during the night. You're simply describing what happens inside that box of time.
So it's like being in a little time bubble. You're not outside watching it, you're inside it.
That's a great way to put it. And then we have until, which closes the bubble. It's the end of that stretch. I'll wait until 6. She worked until midnight. It tells you when something stops.
That makes perfect sense now. So if I'm waiting for you, I'd say, I've been waiting for half an hour. But if I'm still waiting, I could add, and I'll wait until you arrive.
You've got it. You're combining the length and the ending point in one sentence. And that's how fluent speakers sound. They link the timepieces together, not just throw one preposition at a time.
That's interesting. I never realised how visual it could be. It's like English is constantly drawing timelines while it speaks.
Exactly. And once you start thinking like that, it's much easier to decide which preposition to use. You're not memorizing rules, you're choosing a position on the line.
I love that. Time really feels like something you can hold, stretch, or pin down. Kind of makes grammar sound like craft work.
Yeah, it does. But that's what makes it click. The moment you can see it, you stop translating and start understanding.
That's such a nice thought. So 4 stretches, since pins, during sits inside, and until closes. Got it.
Perfect summary. And when we think of time that way, English stops being a list of rules and starts to sound like a story unfolding across the line.
You know, sometimes I think the same sentence in English can feel completely different just because of one tiny preposition. Like, he walked in with confidence versus he walked in without saying a word. It's the same action, but the mood changes instantly.
That's such a sharp observation. With and without are like the switches of atmosphere.
People usually learn with as together with someone, but more often it means carrying something invisible, with confidence, with hope, with a smile. You're not holding anything in your hand, but you're bringing an energy with you.
That's so true. And when you remove it, it's not just the word that disappears, it's the whole feeling. Without confidence, without sleep, without warning, everything suddenly sounds heavier.
Exactly, because without always carries that quiet emptiness, like something's been taken away. You can almost feel the silence it leaves behind.
I love that idea. It's like with fills the space and without empties it. But what about over and under? They feel similar in that invisible kind of way.
You're right. Over and under are about pressure and control. Under feels like being covered by something heavier than you. Under pressure, under control, under stress. You're not physically underneath anything, but there's weight. And over goes the other way. It's when something crosses a line or spreads across a surface. Over the years, over the limit, overconfident. You can hear it. There's expansion or excess.
That's funny, because I actually have a colleague who's always under pressure, but somehow he's also a bit overconfident. He's like a walking grammar lesson.
I love that. And that shows how under and over can exist in the same space, just different directions. One is a push down, the other pushes past the limit.
That's actually such a helpful way to think about it. Because before, I just memorized phrases like under pressure or over the moon, but never thought about why.
Exactly, and that why is what gives your English a heartbeat. When you say under pressure, people can almost feel that invisible weight. When you say over the moon, there's a lift, a sense of floating. It's like sound and emotion line up.
That's beautiful. It's like English uses prepositions to paint air, the things you can't touch but you can feel.
That's exactly it. Prepositions are not just about position. They're about mood, energy, relationship. With, without, over, under. They describe how things feel, not just where they are.
I love that. It makes English sound more emotional, like it's not just describing reality, but also how people stand inside it.
Exactly. And once you start noticing that, your listening changes too, because you stop only hearing words and start hearing tone, balance, tension.
That's true. It's like English doesn't just talk about actions, it talks about atmosphere, and that's what makes it sound alive.
Beautifully said. Once you can feel that invisible layer, you're no longer speaking just for grammar, you're speaking for meaning. When people finish a lesson like this, they often ask, how do I remember all of it? The truth is, you don't. You don't need to. What you need is to make your brain start asking the right questions before you speak. There are only 3 questions that matter. First, are you inside a space or standing on a point? Second, are you describing a route or just a place? And third, are you talking about something visible or a kind of energy or state? Once you start asking these, your prepositions begin to move on their own. You stop translating, you just see it.
I think that's what clicked for me today. It's not about memorizing in or on or by. It's more about picturing what's happening before I open my mouth.
Exactly. Let's say you want to say 我在桌边等你. You don't translate word by word, you picture it. You're standing by the table, not in it, not on it. Once you see that, the words follow.
That makes so much sense. It's like the preposition becomes part of how I see, not how I think.
That's the goal. When it becomes instinct, you stop choosing and start flowing.
I love that. So it's not a grammar quiz anymore. It's more like learning how to film the world with English.
Perfect way to end it.
If today's episode helped you turn prepositions from a guessing game into something you can actually picture, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with that friend who always struggles between in, on, and at.
And next time you hear a native speaker using a preposition, don't rush to memorize it, just ask yourself where their camera's pointing.
We'll see you next week.
Bye for now.